Welcome back to AuthorTube, where I talk about things that you might see in terms of books from an author's perspective, and hopefully this will generate some discussion or at least get people thinking about this particular topic, because I do find it to be a rather interesting one. And the topic here is politics in your books that you write. And this could also be for BookTube as well, books that you tend to read. Now, where does this idea come from? There was a book that I was reading recently, and I noticed that it had a few one-star ratings, but this was a book that I saw a lot of people were really very interested in and really thought very highly of. I had skimmed the book a little bit, and I thought pretty highly of the book as well, and I was just getting started in it, but a lot of people I noticed didn't like the book. And so I started looking at some of the one-star ratings, but I'm always careful, because if I'm in the process of reading a book, or if I haven't started reading the book yet, I don't want to have it spoiled by people who do slip some spoilers, sometimes unintentionally, into their reviews that they do give. Some people do it intentionally, of course. Sometimes they do it to sabotage the books, perhaps because of something that they did not like. And one of those things that sometimes people don't like in a book is politics. And it can be even in a really perhaps unintentional way, but in some cases it can be really intentional. And I'll give you one example of a book that I read not really recently, but The President is Missing. It was co-written by James Patterson and President Bill Clinton. And a lot of people saw Bill Clinton's name on it, instantly were just like, they just got politics on the brain and they just could not let it go. And so a lot of people gave it one-star ratings just because of that association with Bill Clinton being a co-author of the book. And so people saw that, and then they started to see what they wanted to see in terms of the politics. So if you're a conservative and you see Bill Clinton, then you instantly think, oh, this is going to have some kind of a liberal spin. I'm not going to like it. I'm going to hate it. And so a lot of people did one-star it. And I thought that was pretty interesting, because I read the book and I enjoyed it. It was deep. It was thick with just inside information about what goes on behind the scenes of a presidency. So if you're not really into that level of detail, that book might not be for you, but it was a really good story. I did enjoy reading it. I actually read it on the Kindle book. So then there was another book that I was talking about earlier that I was reading, and the political mention in the book I thought was really minor, but I saw at least 2 or 3 people that one-starred it because they did not agree with the politics. And they said, oh, there's just too much politics in this book. I didn't like it. And so 1 star because of all the politics in it. And it was just really like one like really subtle mention. And maybe it was a little bit of a swipe, but it was just one minor thing in there. But it was that one thing sometimes is all it takes to trigger somebody if they are politically of a different opinion. And so I think you have to be really careful. For me, if I see politics in a book, or if I see a book written by someone that I know is of a different political point of view than me, that doesn't necessarily mean I'm going to just say, done, not going to finish it, not even going to start it. Not necessarily. But if they're doing it too much and I don't agree with it, then it could fall into the category of DNF. But I would recommend for anybody just really to try to put that aside and don't let that trip you up too much. Don't let that bother you. If there are other things about the book that you don't like, and then that political thing is maybe the icing on the cake, then that's different. But you know, it's tough in these times because we are so polarized, politically speaking, that it's very difficult for people to say, I'm going to put the politics aside and just try to be entertained for 2, 3, 4, 500 pages, however long the book is. For some people, that's just simply too much to ask for. So I would say tread very carefully if you're a writer and you're introducing politics into your book. If you're a writer of a certain caliber, like say a James Patterson, you can whatever, people can think whatever they want to think, because you're just going to do what you do because you've been successful at it, as successful as anybody has ever been at it. So it's not necessarily going to be that big a deal. But if you're an up and coming author, you might want to be a little bit careful because you don't know what your fan base is. They may or may not appreciate your political perspective, and so it could end up costing you some readers who could maybe be advocates for future books that you may intend to write. Coming at it from a BookTube reader standpoint, you don't want to necessarily throw aside a really good book or potentially a good book that you might enjoy just because of one little political jab that just hit you the wrong way. So I would say if you're going to put it in there, or if you're looking at whether or not you're going to read it, just tread very carefully and figure out what you can stomach and what you can't stomach, what you think your audience can and can't stomach, and go from there. But you have to ask yourself whether or not it's worth it. For some people it is, for some people not so much so. Please consider hitting the like button for this video if you have not already, and if you would be so interested in more BookTube and AuthorTube content, I would encourage you to hit the subscribe button as well for future content on this channel.